I have over 1 year sober since October 2021, and I'm super proud of that. I'm going to share with you what my definition of sober is, how I got to this point, and then I'm going to leave you with 5 learning lessons and principles that you can take away if you're looking to live a sober life as well. What do I consider sober? I consider sober to be free from all substances. So that's alcohol, marijuana, hard drugs, nicotine, etc. I didn't necessarily always have a problem. In fact, 90% of the time, things went actually really well and I had lots of fun and enjoyment. It was that 10% of the time where things went terribly wrong. Bad things happened. I did a lot of things and made a lot of actions that I wasn't necessarily proud of. I knew that that was a wake-up call for me, and that even those 10% of times were too many times that I had to cut it out of my life. I've always been an all or nothing type of guy. I'm gonna drink every single day, or I'm not gonna drink at all. I'm gonna smoke weed every single day, or I'm not gonna smoke at all. That way, I call it mental gymnastics. You don't have to go through this mental gymnastics. Am I smoking today? Am I drinking today? Like, what do I do? That's kind of my rationale behind sobriety. I'm sober now. I want to give you 5 learning lessons and key points that you can take away so that you can live a sober lifestyle if you've resonated with any of this that I've talked about so far. Man, because you'll have friends and excuses and reasons and frustrations that will always occur in your life. But you have to be stronger, abstain from drugs and alcohol if you want to live a successful sober lifestyle. So without further ado, I'm going to give you 5 principles to living a sober life. I already mentioned this one, but the first principle is going to be exercise. Without exercise, I don't think you'll make it through. In fact, I wasn't able to make it through many times before without exercise. Exercising daily is a key part of the process. It doesn't have to be triathlon training. It can be weight training, it can be running, but you have to do some type of physical activity that's gonna raise your frequency. I'm gonna go ahead and drop in the Hertz frequency chart, but this is basically a good description of where you're gonna be at every point throughout the day. So you can be low frequency, which means you're angry, you're mad, you think the world is against you. This is when you're going to break because you're in the halt stage. You're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, or you're tired. When we relapse, we feel feelings of guilt and shame. And that's not what you want to feel. So you need to do some exercise, hard exercise, push-ups, burpees, running, weight training to bring you up to a higher frequency where you're either at neutrality, acceptance, love, joy, peace, happiness, any of those things. We don't want to be at the bottom, and we're going to have to work our way out of that because the only way out of suffering is through more suffering. And I believe in that key. I chose the sport of triathlon. I do weight training, I do running, I do Stairmaster. Stairmaster is a great one. If you haven't tried out the Stairmaster, do what's hard for you and push yourself. The second principle is going to be creating the 10.0 version of yourself. And this is key. One of my life coaches, Wes Watson, shout out Big Wes. Wes has really helped me through this whole sobriety journey. He had a conversation with Tom Hanks about Tom Hanks' son Chet, who I also know. In this conversation, Wes and Tom talked about creating the 10.0 version of yourself. You may ask, what does that mean? Well, Tom, when he would be an actor in movies such as Forrest Gump, he had to really get in the mindset of that character. He had to play that character, he had to act as that character, he had to live as that character. And for months even after the movie, Tom would still continue to be in that character. Wes took away that principle that you have to create that 10.0 version of yourself. You have to think about what he looks like, what their actions are, what's their conduct, what's their demeanor, things like that. Let me give you an example of why this is so important. Sometimes when you have temptation and you're around drugs and alcohol and people are saying, hey, just have one, you have to think about the 10.0 version of yourself. In fact, one time I was close to breaking. I thought about, would 10.0 Chris do that? That was what saved me, is because I knew that the next day I was going to wake up with the regret. I wasn't being the 10.0 version of myself. That was super important to me, that I act in the conduct and my actions of the 10.0 version of myself. The second principle is creating a 10.0 version of yourself. Really write a descriptive, actionable plan of who that person is, and you in your best form is basically what it is. The third principle is going to be have a plan and have a substitute drink in mind. When you are hanging out with friends at the bar, at lunch, after work, at the happy hour, at a wedding, you're going to run into temptations. There's no way you're not going to have temptations throughout your journey. And if you do, I mean, you live a life free of distractions, and I have kudos to you. But I think you're gonna run into some distractions along the way, and you have to be prepared. When you're out at a bar, I have 2 suggestions and 2 recommendations from myself of what you can do. Almost every bar or establishment on the planet has a Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, whatever. You can get diet soda, and diet soda will help you through a lot of the cravings. It gives that same feeling that, you know, I'm drinking something good, it tastes good, I have a feeling when I drink this. Basically, it can remind you of what you felt like when you would drink before without having that alcoholic effect. That's one recommendation, but even more than that, I want to recommend you ginger beer. So ginger beer is actually non-alcoholic. This is what I'd call in a Moscow Mule. I'll be out at a bar or an establishment and I'll get a ginger beer with lime. That's basically a Moscow Mule without the vodka. And that's what I like to drink. Honestly, I'll just kind of sip on these at home. It's fun. I use almost 0 calorie ginger beer. So there's no caloric expenditure to it, and it's definitely worth it. You know, no one really gives you a hard time. If you're walking around with a Moscow Mule cup like this, you'll be totally cool. Ain't no one's gonna pressure you. So the 4th principle is gonna be that you have to give up your old life for your new life. You really need to focus on your future rather than your past. Yes, there's gonna be good times in the past of you drinking with your buddies and that you could potentially have a drink, but that's not the you of the future. You have to completely forget that life to completely fall into your new life. And I believe in that. So separate people from their habits. So I love all my friends. Lots of my friends drink. And, you know, that's not the way I choose to live my life. I want to live by an example for the people that cannot control themselves, and I believe in that. So this is how I look at it. I love my friends, but I hate their habits. You know, sometimes when they do stupid things, I can refer to their 1.0 version of themselves as a dumb drunk, in the words of my life coach, Wes Watson. Shout out Big Wes. I don't want to live that type of lifestyle anymore, and I kind of dissociate from those types of actions, and I put myself in that 10.0 state, and I'm living my new life, and I have to completely forget about the old life. Even though I enjoy looking at beer cans, I enjoy different strains of marijuana, it's not for me anymore. So I had to move on from that. And then the 5th and final principle is gonna be hold yourself to a high standard. When I'm talking about a high standard, I mean an extremely high standard. You need to hold yourself to a standard where you never miss. Your life is a reflection of your habits. When I talk about my habits and that I've had over 1 year of sobriety, that means I've never drinking since I've went sober. I don't have one slip up, none of that. I hold myself to an extremely high standard, and when I say I'm gonna do something, I hold it to my word because that's what a man does. They stick to their word. Habits have gone into all different forms in my life that I stick to, I don't ever miss, and I hold myself to an extremely high standard. So I wake up every single day at 4:45 a.m. I never miss, not for the weekends, not for a party, not for nothing. I'm up at 4:45 a.m. and you can bet on that. That's what I want you guys to think about when you're drinking. Like, do you want someone to be able to bet against you? Like, oh, Johnny, he's gonna crack within 60 days, I'll bet against him. Like, no, you're gonna prove your friends wrong because you're hard and you're not gonna miss. So you need to hold yourself to an extremely high standard. One quote that got me through it that holds you to a high standard is that one drink or one joint is never enough, but 1,000 is too much. So that means, like, I know if I smoke one joint, I'm down the rabbit hole and I'm all the way back in, and it's gonna be a daily thing again. So I just hold myself to that standard because I have real life experience and practice that doesn't work for me. So I hold myself to that standard and I live by that, and I hold myself to an extremely high standard. So that's principle number 5, and that's what I recommend to you. Guys, those are the 5 principles of what I believe has helped me succeed and live a sober lifestyle. I hope that you got some value out of today. I'm really proud to tell my story. I'm super proud to say that I have over 1 year of sobriety because I never thought this was possible. I did 100 days before, that was my longest streak, and now I'm over 1 year sober, and I look forward to continuing every single day, every single year with a sober lifestyle. Find someone that supports your sobriety, whether that be a friend, a coworker, your family, a sponsor, anything like that. Find someone that you can talk to when you're having a bad day, when you really are on the edge and you really want to use. Don't use, and reach out to that person because you'll regret it if you do. It's a key thing to wake up in the morning without any regret, and that's an underrated feeling that people, often don't know because they're out boozing and hiding their problems on the weekends. Without further ado, guys, thank you so much for watching my 1 year of sobriety video. I'm so proud to be sober, and I hope that I can inspire you. If you have any questions, reach out to me directly. Follow me on Instagram, Chris_Oram, and I'll be more than happy to be your support system, your sponsor, and the person that you can count on to always be there. So, videos dedicated to my big dog, Wes Watson. Shout out you, big homie. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.